The screaming started 30 seconds after Ambassador Chan Wei-Lin finished explaining why humans kept dogs as pets. Not the good kind of screaming, either. The kind that suggested someone had just realized they'd made a catastrophic error in judgment, followed by what sounded like 3 different species arguing in languages that weren't supposed to be physically possible for the same vocal cords to produce. Chan sipped her coffee, real Earth coffee, not the synthetic garbage they served at most space stations, and watched the chaos unfold with the calm expression of someone who'd attended 47 diplomatic functions this year and had stopped being surprised by alien breakdowns around meeting number 12. "Did I say something wrong?" she asked, genuinely curious. The translation matrix was working fine. Her diplomatic credentials were current, and she was pretty sure she hadn't accidentally declared war on anyone in the last 5 minutes. Today was shaping up to be a good day. The shark-kind representative, Krillin, a tall crystalline being whose species name roughly translated to people who take themselves way too seriously, had gone completely silent, which for shark-kind diplomats was the equivalent of a complete nervous breakdown in public. Their entire culture was built around never shutting up under any circumstances. The Mandrake delegate, Vorik, an insectoid creature with too many eyes and a translator that made everything sound like a formal complaint, was making rapid clicking noises that the universal translator was gamely attempting to render as computational error, please stand by. An Illuminati envoy, Thalen, a floating jellyfish-like being in a mobility tank, had turned a color that Chan was pretty sure wasn't even on their species' normal spectrum. She made a mental note to ask about that later, assuming they all survived this diplomatic incident. "You said," Krillin finally managed, voice crackling through the translator with what sounded like barely controlled panic, "that humans keep predators in your homes as companions." "Well, yeah." Chan set down her coffee cup with the careful precision of someone who'd learned not to make sudden movements around nervous aliens. "Dogs? Cats sometimes, though cats are more like tiny roommates who judge your life choices. Some people keep snakes, birds, the occasional lizard. My neighbor back home has a ferret named Kiro that's basically a furry chaos demon, but it's cute, so nobody minds when it steals socks." The clicking from Vorik increased in tempo. The translator had given up and was just displaying error messages. "Predators," Thalen repeated, somehow managing to sound horrified despite communicating through bioluminescent color shifts. "You domesticated predators, multiple species of predators, and you enjoy this." Chan smiled faintly. "I mean, my dog Kiro isn't exactly intimidating. He's afraid of the vacuum cleaner and once got stuck in a doggy door for 3 hours, 'cause he forgot he was bigger than the opening. But technically, yes, he's descended from wolves, apex predator lineage and all that." The 3 alien delegates were now huddled together in what could charitably be called an emergency conference. If emergency conferences typically involve frantic whispering, alarm color changes, and the occasional sound that the translator rendered as concerned chittering. "Perhaps," Krillin said carefully, "we should discuss Earth's ecosystem in more detail. For the cultural exchange records, you understand?" "Sure," Chan nodded. "What would you like to know?" "Your planet's apex predator," Vorik said, finally getting his translator back online. "We would like to understand the dominant species in your world's food chain, for comparison purposes." Chan grinned, the kind of grin that had gotten her through 12 years of diplomatic service, and exactly 3 alien invasion attempts. Humans. The silence that followed was the kind of silence that suggested several beings had just experienced what humans might call an oh moment, followed immediately by what humans definitely called an oh no moment. "I beg your pardon," Thalen managed. "Humans? We're the apex predator on Earth. I mean, we don't hunt much anymore. Most of us just go to grocery stores now. But evolutionarily speaking, top of the food chain. We hunted mammoths to extinction, turned wolves into pets, and figured out how to make fire do our bidding. We're persistence hunters, tool users, and we have these things called opposable thumbs. Basically nature's cheat code." Chan was warming to the topic now. "We're also social hunters. Pack tactics, coordinated strikes, communication during the hunt. Plus we've got weird advantages, running long distances without overheating, throwing with incredible accuracy, and adapting to pretty much any environment on the planet. Desert, tundra, mountains, swamps, you name it. We live there, and we eat almost anything." The 3 delegates stared at her with what she was beginning to recognize as horror. "Your predators," Krillin whispered. "Well, Technically omnivores with predatory adaptations. But sure, apex predators works. And you, Vorik said slowly, are telling us this while sitting in a diplomatic conference room, discussing trade agreements and drinking. What is that substance? Coffee. Mild stimulant. Helps me think faster. All three shifted their chairs further away. How many of you are there? Krillin asked, voice barely above a whisper. Humans, about 8 billion, last count, give or take a few million. The silence that followed was worse than the last one. The kind of silence that suggested someone had just done the math and didn't like the results. 8 billion apex predators, Vorik repeated. Who have space travel? Thalen added faintly. Krillin sounded like someone who just realized they'd been playing poker with a card shark. Yes, is that bad? Chan asked innocently. We're pretty friendly as apex predators go. We mostly just want to trade resources, share cultural stuff, music, art, recipes. I brought some chocolate chip cookies if anyone wants to try them. That did it. Krillin made a sound like glass shattering. Vorik's translator sparked. Thalen turned a color that her tablet later identified as existential crisis. Perhaps, Krillin said, voice shaking, we should take a recess. Sure, no problem. Chan stood, grabbed the cookies, and left the three alien delegates sitting in stunned silence, contemplating the fact they just spent the last hour chatting with a representative of 8 billion apex predators who made cookies and kept wolves as pets. Outside, her communicator buzzed. A message from Admiral Hayes back on Earth. How's the cultural exchange going? Any problems? Chan considered, listening to the frantic alien whispers behind the sealed door. Nothing I can't handle, she typed back. Just the usual first contact adjustment period. She hit send, smiled, and headed for the observation lounge. Just another Tuesday in the diplomatic course. The next day, the three alien delegates summoned her back. Their voices cracked, translators strained, and colors flickered with stress. Krillin's crystalline facets vibrated. Vorik's mandibles twitched like they were trying to crawl away. Thalen glowed with shades of dread. Ambassador Chan, Krillin began, we have reviewed your species files. They were incomplete. Let me guess, Chan said, leaning back. Your innards saw the poetry and math we sent. Figured we were space hippies with thumbs? The silence confirmed it. Your history of persistence hunting is alarming, Vorik admitted. You chased prey across continents for weeks until they collapsed. Chan shrugged. Yeah, marathon running was training for that. We just added fancy shoes. Selective breeding of entire species, Thalen pulsed. Ecosystem manipulation. Wolves into dogs, orcs into cows, grass into corn. Chan grinned. We see potential. We optimize. It's kind of our hobby. The three conferred nervously. Finally, Krillin said, our governments require a demonstration of human problem-solving ability. Chan sighed. Of course they do. The survival chamber was the size of a football field. A maze of barriers, tools scattered, resources hidden. Vorik explained nervously, you have 30 minutes to reach the extraction point. The last 3 test subjects lasted 10. Chan smirked. Sounds fun. The door sealed. Lights dimmed. The test began. Within minutes, the observers panicked. She's dismantling the equipment. Vorik chittered. She's not following the intended path, Krillin said. She's building something, Thalen whispered. On the screen, Chan turned a medical scanner into a lever, shoved aside barriers, and built a siege engine out of spare parts. She's building a catapult, Krillin said faintly. Chan waved cheerfully at the booth, launched herself over 70% of the maze, rolled, and strolled to the exit with 26 minutes left. That was fun, she said over comms. Got anything harder? 5 minutes later, she was back in the conference room, dusty but smiling, laying dismantled parts on the table. Your sensor mounts are weak under lateral stress. These interlocks are too easy to bypass. I'd recommend redesigning with redundancy. The alien stared at her diagrams with existential dread. Ambassador Chan, Thalen pulsed carefully. How would you describe humanity's approach to impossible obstacles? Chan grinned. We don't believe in impossible, just unsolved. Across the sector, alarms blared in the Hegemony Strategic Division Command Center. Commander Draxi stood before a holographic flood of urgent requests. Status, he demanded. Sir, Lieutenant Scar clicked. 43 governments want immediate consultation with humanity. All after the demonstration. Demonstration? Draxis growled. Analyst Jorvin looked up, pale. Sir, humanity doesn't see limits. They see puzzles. They have solved problems every species thought permanent: disease, famine, survival. And now the galaxy wants their help. Draxi stared at the requests: agriculture, medicine, engineering, diplomacy. All urgent, all directed at Earth. He exhaled slowly. Then history has changed. Not with conquest, not with war, but with one human, a cup of coffee, and a plate of cookies. 3 systems away, Ambassador Chan Wei-Lin sat with the Verdani Agricultural Accord, explaining crop rotation while her coffee went cold and her calendar filled with new urgent meetings. Tomorrow was going to be very interesting.